Welcome to Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode number 162. That is enough. Oh, if you're a parent, you've said those words. I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of times, but they are familiar to you. And all of us have that point at which it is enough. It is enough noise. It is enough chaos. It is enough attitude. It is enough disobedience. It is enough rebellion. Just that is enough. I wouldn't call it the end of our patience. I would call it perhaps the end of our tolerance. And do you know what? That is an okay message. It really is. We actually have to love our children and ourselves enough to be able to say, that is enough. I can recall very clearly a good friend of mine whose parents had 5 children. I came from a family with 10, so it didn't seem like a big group of kids to me at the time, but it was plenty. And all of their children had red hair and the fiery, wild, exuberant, crazy personality that went with it. And of course, when I was young, I had fiery red hair. So when I came over, there were 6 of us. Susie's dad was such a patient man. He was a really, really decent, good, godly man. But I'll tell you, he had an end point. So all this craziness would be going on. I would be at their house on Saturdays sometimes and end up spending the night there. And he would just tolerate it. But when it was done, when he was up to here, it really was done. And he would say that, "All right, you children." And he didn't raise his voice. He just said it with this sternness in his voice. "That is enough." Every kid in the house knew what that meant. It was time to quit being so exuberant and so noisy and so wild and crazy. It was time for those boys to settle down and us girls to settle down. It was just, that was enough. And we all understood that. So my friend and I would find a game to play in her room, Uno or Yahtzee, or we would read together. We found something quieter to do. Her brothers certainly found something quieter to do. We understood the message. It's not a bad message to help someone understand, including your children. You can love them enough to say to them, that is enough. If your child has a really lousy attitude, that probably needs to come sooner rather than later, the message of that is enough. You are not going to have this jerky attitude all day, take it out on all of us in the household when it doesn't have anything to do with us. You just happen to wake up in a bad mood. That is enough of that. You need to get a hold of yourself and you need to present yourself as a much more pleasant version of yourself. And if you aren't willing to do that, then you need to go into your room and find a quiet activity to do alone because we aren't going to tolerate your lousy attitude all day long. What if you're out somewhere? No joke. You're at Disney World. Huh, I've literally had that happen before with one of my children. And it's a bad day and they just want to be a jerk and nobody's going to have fun because of it. It's like, that is enough. Right now, shut it down. You are more than capable of getting a hold of yourself and your emotional state. You're not going to do this all day. I realize you were disappointed. I know you're frustrated. I get that you're upset. But no, that is enough. Now get a hold of yourself and knock it off. That really is a message of love. That's not mean or condemnatory or harsh. I have seen so many parents in recent years let their kids get away with so much stuff because a parent doesn't have the guts to say that is enough. It is a message kids need to get. When they have electronics in their hands 14 hours a day, that is too much, mom and dad. That's your responsibility and you need to knock it off. So I'm going to look at you and say that is enough. And you need to tell them you have a 2-hour limit. So on a Saturday, whether you do your 2 hours in the morning or you do your 2 hours in the evening, you have a 2-hour limit. Then you're going to hand that thing over. That's all you get. That is enough of vegging out your mind and doing nothing interactive with anyone else in the family and just basically checking out. That is enough. You know what, Dad, if you're a video game fanatic, after 2.5 hours, that is enough. Your kids need to see you. They need to talk to you. They need to go in the backyard and throw the ball around with you. They need to sit down and have a tea party with you with their dolls. Maybe not your very favorite activity, but sitting there all day, 6, 8 hours in front of that television set, and your kids are just stuck with nobody to interact with. No, that is too much. That is enough. Knock it off. That is a message of love. That is a message of care and concern. You need to learn how to say those words, and you need to say them without being angry and frustrated and harsh. Just that is enough, and it needs to stop, and it's going to stop. And you need to be an example of that, as well as the voice of reason saying that. You have a teenage daughter, and you find out that she's been going out with this guy who's 21 years old, and she's 14 or 15. Dad, you can certainly get in her face and say, "That is enough, young lady. This is not going to continue. That guy knows things you don't know. And honest to goodness, you might be sexually active. You might think you know everything. But, dear, you are a child, at least a young woman, and he is a grown man. And that is enough. That is not going to continue." She goes out of the house in a miniskirt clear up to there, and you know what every guy on the planet is thinking when he looks at her. You can tell her, "Oh no, you're not wearing that." She can be mad. She can turn on the waterworks. She can say, "Mom, Dad's being so unreasonable and unfair, and this is super cute." And no, young lady, that is enough. You are going to put on other clothes. And frankly, that can come to me, and what I do with it is my business. And oh, trash cans are a good option, or cut it up and make a quilt or a Barbie doll dress out of it. I'm really not kidding, parents. We have to get enough courage to be able to say to our children, because we love them and we genuinely care about them, that is enough. You have a 15, 16-year-old kid, and you know he's out drinking and he's out getting high with his friends. Oh, you need to put a complete stop to that one. That is enough. You're not going to do this. You're going to end up dead on the side of the road, or with your whole self wrapped around a tree and a vegetable in a wheelchair the rest of your life. That is enough of this. You will not be going with those friends. You will not be doing this. If I have to lock you in the house under lock and key, I'm going to do it, because I actually love you that much that I'm going to look at you and say, "Oh no, that is enough of that." We need to understand it is not a limiting, unkind, unfair, critical thing to look at our kids and say, "That is enough." We need to know when and how to say it, and we need to mean it. We need to stick to our guns about it, both for our child's well being and for the sake of our relationship with them. It may be one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but I promise you, your child will respect you for it. And in many ways, maybe not today, but by the time they're an adult, especially a middle-aged adult, they will appreciate you for the things that you stood in their way and said to them, "That's enough." My challenge question for you today is, are you good at that is enough? Either with yourself or with your child. If your spending is out of control, if your eating is out of control, if your video electronic usage is out of control, if your mouth and temper are out of control, you need to get a hold of this for yourself. That is enough, and put limits. If you have a level of control in your life, then you are standing on a platform from which you can look at your child and say, "That is enough." It's been great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. Please leave me your questions, your comments, your suggestions. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you learned it, or if you learned something or you liked it. I look forward to seeing you again soon. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.